Welcome back, everyone, to the Key Learning Points Show.
It's great to be here.
This is episode number 3, and as always, we're all about bringing you those really practical insights, from the world of personal development, stuff you can actually use.
Absolutely. It's got to be applicable.
And today, I thought we could dive into 3 areas that kind of all tie together in a way. First, we'll touch on dealing with adversity, those tough times that inevitably crop up.
Right.
Then we'll explore this interesting technique, automatic writing, which sounds kind of woo-woo, but it's actually got some solid benefits for clearing the mental clutter. And finally, we'll wrap up by talking about something that's so relevant in today's world, which is actually reducing the number of choices we make.
Oh, I like that. Reducing the number of variables.
Yeah.
Simplifying things.
Yeah, exactly, because sometimes that abundance of options can be more paralyzing than liberating.
It really can. It's like too much freedom can sometimes trap you.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
So shall we start with adversity then? It's something we all face, right? Like it's just part of the human experience.
Yeah.
Whether it's in our personal lives, our work, or even just navigating the ups and downs of daily life.
It's guaranteed. It's interesting because we know deep down that we're going to face challenges. We just don't know when they'll show up or what form they'll take.
It's that uncertainty that often makes it even harder, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Like not knowing how long a tough situation is going to last, what the real cost will be, especially if it's affecting not just you, but people you care about, loved ones.
Yeah. And, we've probably all gone through difficult periods in our lives, right? And looking back, we see that we made it through. We might have even come out stronger on the other side, even if we were changed by the experience.
We learn and we grow from those challenges.
We do. So simply recognizing that adversity is not some strange anomaly, but a recurring theme in life, that in itself can shift our perspective, I think.
I think so too. It kind of normalizes those difficult times instead of making us feel like we're the only ones going through something tough.
Exactly. And there's a really great story I came across. It's by Leslie Householder that really illustrates this beautifully. It uses the analogy of an acorn.
Oh, I love a good analogy. Okay, tell me about this acorn.
So picture this tiny little acorn, right? It's packed with the potential to grow into this massive, powerful oak tree.
I can picture it.
But from the acorn's perspective, at that starting point, that transformation must seem like this incredibly distant, almost impossible goal.
Right, like how can this tiny thing ever become this massive tree?
Exactly. But here's the thing. Within that little acorn, there's this inherent drive, this natural inclination to grow. It's hardwired into its very being.
It's like it's programmed for growth.
Yeah, exactly. But then something happens. The acorn falls to the ground, it gets bruised maybe, covered in mud, surrounded by darkness. And in that moment, it has to completely surrender to its circumstances. It can't actively do anything to grow, at least not in a way it can perceive.
So it's vulnerable, maybe even feels a bit helpless.
Totally. And that's where the story gets really interesting. Because in that stillness, that apparent inactivity, when it's not striving or resisting, that's when the real change begins to happen. But it's happening beneath the surface. It starts drawing on the resources it has within. It's almost like it realizes on a deep level that it already has everything it needs to move to the next stage.
It's laying down those crucial roots, even if it can't see the results yet.
Yes, and as it draws on those inner resources, the acorn starts to grow stronger, it develops its root system, and then eventually it pushes through the resistance of the soil and breaks through into the light.
And all that foundational work that was happening unseen is what allows it to do that, right?
Precisely.
Right.
And suddenly that huge goal that seemed so distant, it doesn't seem so far away anymore. In fact, it was never closer. That foundational work during the tough times, that was what made it possible.
So when we're in those moments of adversity, when we feel stuck, maybe even like we're failing,
Yeah.
it's important to remember that there could be important growth happening, even if we can't see it yet.
Absolutely. And it reminds me of that saying, if you want good fruits, you focus on the roots. Our challenges, those times when we feel like we're in the mud, they can actually be what strengthens our foundation for the future.
It's a great reminder to trust the process, even when things feel tough. Okay, so let's shift gears a bit now and talk about automatic writing. I'll admit, when I first heard about this, I was a little skeptical.
Yeah.
Can you explain what this practice is and how it can actually be beneficial?
Sure. So automatic writing, it sounds kind of mystical, right?
Yeah.
Right. But it's really quite simple. You basically just sit down with a pen and paper or at your computer and you just start writing. And you don't stop. You don't edit. You just let whatever thoughts come up flow out onto the page.
So it's like a stream of consciousness.
Exactly. It's like giving your mind permission to just wander freely without any judgment or censorship. And I think a lot of people, when they first try this, they'll sit there and be like, I don't know what to write.
Oh, for sure. Like, my mind's blank. What am I supposed to write about?
Exactly. But the thing is, if you just keep writing, even if it's just, I don't know what to write over and over again, eventually something will bubble up from your subconscious. It's like, think about if you repeat a simple phrase over and over again, eventually it becomes automatic, right? You don't even have to think about it. Automatic writing taps into that same principle.
It's like overcoming that initial resistance, and then the flow just starts to happen.
Right. And there are actually a few key benefits to this, even though it might seem a bit pointless at first.
Okay, so tell me, what are those benefits? Why should someone bother with this?
So firstly, it's a really great way to just declutter your mind. We're constantly bombarded with information, and our minds are always racing, thinking, analyzing. Automatic writing gives you a way to kind of offload all those thoughts, those worries, those random ideas, and put them down on paper. It frees up space in your head.
It's almost like taking all those mental tabs you have open and actually laying them out in front of you so you can get a better view.
Exactly. You see what's really taking up space in your mind. And secondly, it can help you get rid of ideas or thought patterns that you might be holding on to that aren't actually all that useful or original.
Oh, totally. We all have those amazing ideas that we think are totally unique, and then we realize, oh, wait, that's already a thing.
Exactly. And sometimes we need to just get those down on paper to realize they're not as groundbreaking as we thought they were. And once we acknowledge them, we can let them go and make space for new ideas to come in.
It's like clearing the clutter to make way for something fresh. And you mentioned there was a third benefit as well, right?
Yeah, this one's especially cool, I think. You can actually use automatic writing to intentionally program your mind with positive thoughts and affirmations.
Wait, really? How does that work?
Well, instead of just letting your thoughts flow randomly, you can consciously direct your writing. You can write affirmations about yourself, your goals, the things you want to achieve. It's like taking control of the narrative in your head and shifting it toward a more positive and empowering direction.
So you're essentially training your mind to think differently.
Yeah. Instead of your mind controlling you, you're controlling your mind.
I like that. You become like an athlete of the mind. So practically speaking, if someone wanted to try this, what would you suggest?
Start small, even just 5 to 15 minutes a day. And try writing about your day, your week, but write about it from a positive perspective, as if those good things have already happened. And you might be surprised at how many of those things actually start to materialize in your life.
It's almost like you're writing your own reality into existence.
Yeah, it's pretty powerful stuff. Okay, so moving on to our final topic for today, which is all about reducing the number of variables in our lives.
This feels so relevant, especially these days when we're constantly bombarded with choices.
It is. We often think that having more choices means more freedom, right? More options, more happiness. But there's actually a lot of truth in what Will Smith said once. He said, just decide what you're going to do, how you're going to do it. From that point, the universe is going to take care of it. And it's really about the power of making a decision and taking action, rather than getting stuck in endless analysis.
And there's a term for that, isn't there? Paradox of choice, where having too many options can actually lead to anxiety, indecision, or even feeling paralyzed.
Exactly. What's the point of having all these amazing possibilities if we never actually choose any of them? We get so caught up in weighing the pros and cons, imagining all the different scenarios that could play out, that we end up doing nothing at all.
Ugh. It's like when you spend hours scrolling through Netflix trying to find something to watch and then end up just giving up and doing something else entirely because you can't decide.
Exactly. And the key here is to get intentional about narrowing down those options because honestly, think about how many choices we face every single day. What to wear, what to eat, which route to take to work, who to respond to first, which project to focus on. It's exhausting just thinking about it.
Seriously, it's overwhelming.
Right. So imagine, for example, you're a recent grad and you're moving to a new city for a job.
That's right.
Right.
Totally.
But then you start thinking about all the things you have to decide. Where to live, what kind of apartment, do I get roommates or not? How long is the commute? Will I make friends? What's the culture like in this new city?
It's a lot.
It is. And all those open variables can quickly turn that initial excitement into anxiety and overwhelm.
And suddenly the thought of taking any action feels impossible.
Exactly. And it's funny, right? Because we think more options equals more freedom. But in reality, having too many choices can actually make us feel less free. because we're constantly second-guessing ourselves, worrying about making the wrong decision.
It's like you're always looking over your shoulder wondering if you've missed out on something better.
Yes. Whereas when we commit to something, when we make a conscious choice to go down a particular path, there's a sense of liberation in that. Because by saying yes to one thing, we're also saying no to a whole bunch of other things. And that focus allows us to fully invest our energy and appreciation into the path we've chosen.
And the commitment, in a way, is its own form of freedom.
I think so too. It allows us to be more present and engaged in the experience.
So practically speaking, how do we go about reducing those variables and making decisions more effectively?
Well, there are a few different approaches, but one I like is from J.T. Fox. He has this really simple process. First, close your eyes and think about the absolute worst thing that could happen if you made this choice. Then, imagine the absolute best thing that could happen. Then, think about the most likely outcome. And after you've considered all three, you do a quick countdown from 5 to 1, and then you just decide.
I like that countdown element. It's like forcing yourself to move past the overthinking and into action.
Exactly. And of course, we don't want to swing to the other extreme and have absolutely no variables in our lives because that would be boring.
Like living in a perfectly predictable routine every single day, that wouldn't be fun.
No.
Mm-hmm.
But the point is to find a balance, to value our commitments, and to be empowered to make decisions, knowing that it's okay to narrow down our choices.
So it's about choosing what to focus on and then giving those choices our full attention.
Exactly. And if you're feeling scattered, unfocused, like you're being pulled in a million directions, that might be a sign that it's time to simplify, make some decisions, and reduce some of those variables.
Some really fantastic insights today. Thanks for breaking all of that down.
You're welcome. It was fun.
Thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you next time on the Key Learning Points Show.